morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to welcome you to the Office of the Prime Minister's weekly press briefing. It's good to see you here for the second time this week. We have an exciting press briefing planned for you today. So without further ado, I will introduce Press Secretary Clint Watson.
Thank you, Jillian. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning to all of you who are joining us. Amazing how fast the week goes. It's Friday, and we do have some important information to deliver to you on a number of areas we're going to be focusing on today. We're going to be focusing on the Disaster Reconstruction Authority. We'll talk about what's happening there. Obviously, many of you have seen the headlines. We want to talk a little more about what's happening, what's being accomplished with the DRA. We're also going to give you some announcements of what's been happening on the front with Prime Minister this week. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, we want to celebrate our success internationally, as we've been doing for the past few weeks, making some waves in the international circuit. And we want to talk to you a little bit about that. And then, of course, we top things off with our vendors, Bahamian food vendors of the week, who are here, obviously, to tantalize your taste buds again. So welcome. Good to see all of you again. We want to begin with the Disaster Reconstruction Authority. As I prefaced my comments earlier, we talked about the fact of what's been happening in the headlines with DRA, but also what you may not have seen in the headlines as far as what work is continuing, what work is going on, where are we with the rebuilding efforts, particularly in Abaco and Grand Bahama, and to take your questions that you may have regarding the DRA. And so we're pleased to have the chairman of the executive chairman of the Disaster Reconstruction Authority, Mr. Alex Storr, here this morning to address us and to give you some comments on a number of areas, and of course taking your questions. So let's begin with the executive chairman of DRA, Mr. Alex Storr, as he comes to address us. Mr. Storr.
First, let me say good morning to all the members of the press here and to the people of the country that are viewing at the various locations. From my official appointment last November 2021, I worked diligently to understand the various projects, the successes and the failures of the Disaster Reconstruction Authority. There's a lot of info out there right now in the media, in social media, about the DRA. And so I thought it was time to come to the public to address some of the concerns, some of the issues, and to give you an update on the work that is being done in the meantime. This being my first press briefing, I would like to thank the Prime Minister Davis for the confidence in me and the innovative group of directors to lead such an important institution. Despite all the naysaying right now, the DRA is an essential institution in the country. We are in what's sometimes termed Hurricane Alley. And as I have said many times, it's not if, it's when the next storm will hit. And so the DRA must be ready to meet that challenge. I think the team that is in place now, appointed by the Prime Minister, is an able team. And I think that we are able to not only get the job done in terms of our mandate for disaster reconstruction, but to solve the problems, the issues that we've met in place, and to make sure that the authority is functioning properly. One of the first things I sought to do was to gain insight into the many projects, the projects that are being completed, ones that are in train right now, and then to see and assess what is needed going forward. We have, through the Ministry of Finance, engaged the services of UHY Bain to conduct an operational audit. Because of the many revelations and clear signs of mismanagement, we have now asked that this be switched to a forensic audit. What's clear is that the Disaster Reconstruction Authority, while a good thought and idea by the former administration, appears to have been grossly mismanaged and hampered by poor execution. From the current internal structure, the extremely high salaries, the way contracts were negotiated, the apparent conflicts of interest, and the lack of compliance and management of every project. I, along with the board of directors, held out hope that once on the ground in the disaster zones in Abaco and Grand Bahama, that things would be explained, that we could see, because sometimes you may have a bad decision, but it may be a necessary decision. And so we looked at the factors that went into making these decisions. You go on the ground, you assess, and then you see, well, okay, this may not be the right decision, but I could see why it was the decision at the time. Unfortunately, once we got on the ground, that didn't happen. Things just got worse, and there were more questions that had to be asked. Over the past 2 weeks, the DRA Board of Directors, along with a team of DRA employees, visited Abaco and Grand Bahama. And I thought it was important that we carry especially some of the younger staff with us, because what has shocked me is, after being in operation for 2 years, some of them, this was the first time ever visiting the disaster zones. And when they saw reality of what was on the ground, basis what they were being told and what had come to them in reports, it was a stark difference, and it was telling that there was a lot needed to be done. Shock and anger are just some of the reactions directors had while visiting the disaster zones and the projects under the DRA's purview. As it relates to the elephant in the room, the former managing director's termination, this is a matter that is currently being litigated. I will not speak on it, save to say that you guys have seen the amounts, you have heard the projects and the mismanagement thereof, and so the Bahamian people can decide whether they were getting value for their money. And as I said when we were in Grand Bahama, I know the amount that is being asked for in the suit is some almost $500,000. And I asked the question, do you know how many people the DRA could help with $500,000? And so if you look at the projects that were done by Rotary in Sweeting Ski, we had $1 million, they helped almost 33 families. And so you multiply that, or at $500,000, that's at least 17 families could be helped with that money. And we are now faced where we may have to pay that to one person. But be that as it may. I also, this is the last thing I'll say, I note the former Prime Minister's remarks on the salary and whether he was aware. I know that time can cause memories to fade, and so I hope that some time has passed since he made the initial statement, that he's had time to think and review, and that maybe if whoever asks the initial question goes back to him, that he may have a different response rather than he was not aware. But if he needs help in jogging his memory, I am here. Abaco, and let me speak to what we found in Abaco. During our visit to Abaco, we toured the 3 debris management sites managed by 2 companies, the Dome City, the Dome Staging Site, the Central Pines Housing Project, the Abaco Community Center, Hurricane Shelter Project, and paid a courtesy call on Parliamentary Secretary Kirk Cornish and John Pinder. We also toured the DRA offices and introduced ourselves to staff. The site managed in Spring City and Cherokee, I must say, appeared to be well managed, complying with all aspects of their contract and guidelines set out therein. One of the bright spots within the DRA. And I can tell you, by the time I went on I call it a surprise visit to Abaco prior to going down there with the board. The first site, by the time as we got to Nassau, the Spring City site, the operators there had sent me an email with a shared drive that I could go on and view pictures, billings, and all the backup and supporting documents that are required in the contract to prove that the work was done. And this includes pictures of trucks with their load, license plate numbers, and everything. The Treasure Key site led to many questions. As I stated, we have commenced internal investigations based on our findings at the Treasure Key site. And coupled with the forensic audit, we hope to get to the bottom of what transpired. There were problems with the billing because we were being billed for equipment that quite obviously was either not on the site, had not been used, or not even being able to operate. Upon return from Amoco, it was warranted to place a senior executive of the DRA on administrative leave pending an investigation that was launched into our debris management sites. The Central Pines housing project, where the DRA received $1 million in donations to construct 5 homes as a part of a $10 million pledge by Discovery Land Holdings. The houses are about 70 to 80% complete. We anticipated to be in position to go to the selection process shortly once the homes are completed. Freeport, Grand Bahama. During our visit, the board of directors toured various debris management sites, which are now closed in McLeanstown and High Rock. We toured Sweetings Key and met with Darren Cooper of Rotary and paid a courtesy call on the Minister for Grand Bahama, Ginger Moxie. The debris management sites only operated for a few months. All contracts were terminated in 2020. As we toured those sites, many questions arose, as apparently based on what directors would have seen and when compared to the monthly payments made, things didn't add up. We were reviewing these contracts, and there are some revelations that have surfaced. And once we can corroborate and verify, we will most definitely let the Bahamian people know the details. I would like to commend the Rotary team, Darren Cooper, along with their funding partners, for the excellent job done on Sweetings Key. With $1.5 million, they were able to build 17 new homes and repair 16 homes. And the good reporters, you will remember what I said just a few minutes ago of how many homes the DRA has under construction for the same $1 million in Abaco. But I'll leave that there for now. But yet, with the $1.5 million, they were able to build 17 new homes and repair 16 homes, refurbish a church that was used to house their workers, as well as they did other things within the community. And so the model and management system used is definitely something that we have asked Rotary to be able to partner with them on future endeavors and perhaps even move it to other locations around the country. And like I said, one of the reasons I highlighted this $1.5 million, which was able to assist 33 families, because by comparison, in Abaco, Central Pines Housing Project, $1 million is assisting 5 families. And you can just pause and think about that, what that means. Our directors held a board meeting during our second day in Freeport, where we discussed solutions, resolved the management of our projects, and made decisions on how we can straighten the operations of the DRA, and immediate steps that needed to be taken to stop some of the high-cost monthly expenditure. Small home repair program. During the tours of the disaster zones, one thing was the constant request from residents on whether the DRA could restart the small home repair program. We received many complaints that they were not able to apply for that program, or the program did not assist sufficiently with their needs. And there are many reasons why people may not have applied or may have missed the deadline. And so we are conducting a study into this and seeing if we could get funding from Maine government to see if we could relaunch the program, not only to assist those that have already been approved, but to see if we could have new applicants that need the assistance. Despite the problems we are faced with and that are being mentioned, it is certainly a new day in the for the DRA. We have commenced a major organizational restructuring exercise. We are focused on developing a strong internal foundation so that all internal units can succeed. In the coming weeks, we will repurpose some of our HR complement to better suit what our new vision is. We will maintain the mantra of building back better and aid in the continued preparation for disasters. Internally, we are also strengthening our finance, HR, and compliance policies to close gaps that led to mismanagement and inefficiencies. As a part of our reporting mandates, we are pressing our finance team to complete the mandated yearly financial audits to present to our minister, who will then present in the House of Assembly. I note the comments in the media concerning the DRA and its non-compliance with reporting on contracts issued, etc. And this will be a thing of the past. Our board and I are keen on raising the bar of transparency, accountability, and it's not just lip service. And anybody who knows me will tell you, they know that when I say and when I set out to do, I will accomplish it. And you can take my words as a solemn promise. We will live up to the promises of the DRA that we make and what is in our legislation and required for us to do. As a part of our Operation Subcommittee's mandate, we are reviewing ways to improve and enhance the small home repair program with a view of relaunching soon and securing further funding. One of the major issues in Abaco is the rental housing unit inventory is extremely low and expensive. We are developing plans, in particular PPPs and joint ventures, that would enable the DRA to assist with this issue. We are also reviewing the legislative framework of the DRA with a view of enhancing it to allow the DRA to better serve its purpose. We are looking to further develop our fundraising and donor arm. And you know, a lot of the negative press, and this is part of the reason why we didn't make a lot of what's public now public. I have answered questions that have come to me, but we didn't release any of this information that's out there because we were concerned with our donors and keeping the confidence of our donors. We cannot do what we do based on the government alone and government funding alone. We need donors both national and international to make the job happen. And so that is why a part of the restructuring we are doing is to also not only make sure we are functioning properly, but to make sure that we keep and regain the confidence of our donors out there who have pledged or given millions of dollars towards helping us complete our task. And we thank them for this, and we pledge that in the future, they will see it's a new day and know that when they send their dollars to us, that they will be better managed. With the impact of climate change, we feel that this will open new doors for funding. And so it's important that the DRA is the type of organization that these people will have confidence in to send their funds. So in that vein, we are working feverishly to restore donor confidence. We are concerned that the DRA shakes off the negative stigma, not only with the stories of the past, but from people in affected areas that have said that the DRA did not do all it could to assist them, that these things become a thing of the past, and they can have confidence in us as an organization going forward. With that, I and the board of directors pledge that we will do our best to make sure that the people are put first and that the help gets to where it's needed the most. That being said, I end my formal presentation, and I'm open to any questions that you may have.
Mr. Starr, can you say when you expect the forensic audit team to be selected and to begin their work? And is there any suspicion by the DRA at all that there were instances in the past where donations intended for Hurricane Dorian victims were used by officers for personal benefit?
Let me say that you have heard me say that UHY Bain has been selected to do the operational audit, and they will be shifting to the forensic audit. So that team is already in place. In terms of assets being mismanaged, everything will be under investigation. I can't speak to any specific case of such happening, but if it did, we will uncover it and we will deal with those that are responsible.
When you say deal with it, based on the information that comes out of this audit, and what you've seen so far since taking office, could there be the possibility of criminal charges if it comes down to that?
Anything that comes out of the audit that we think warrants such action will be forwarded to the proper authorities. In terms of what we have seen so far, I will rule on the side of caution and the benefit of doubt and say that it's just gross incompetence right now.
Is there any
That this current lawsuit with the former managing director is going to jeopardize or have any effect on the investigations into the workings of the DRA?
Even though the lawsuit just came to the public's attention, we were aware of this from, it would have been in December, and that didn't stop our work, and it won't stop our work. We'll do what we have to do to fulfill our mandate and to make sure that any wrongdoing, those that are responsible are held responsible.
Much was made of pledges under the last administration. There was the conference that was held, and the claim was there was about a 1.77 billion in pledges. What's the position of the DRA on how much of the pledges have already materialized into something concrete or will materialize?
In the first instance, the pledge conference, from what I have seen so far, was nothing but a PR exercise done to fool the Bahamian people. The 1.7 billion, or however much the figure was, what actually materialized is nowhere near that figure. Now, donations that came in, some were earmarked for specific projects and were used for those projects. Some had caveats with them that entailed other things to go along with it, and so some people were using it as a method of getting their foot in the door in the hurricane relief to benefit their businesses, and so we had to sort through all of that, but I haven't gotten an official tally yet on what was promised versus what was actually received, but that is one of the things that I'm seeking to obtain.
You said that the new board is also planning to see how best that they can get donations to help with the DRA's work. Will you also be considering hosting another pledge conference like the former administration to help get that message out there and funds in?
Nothing is off the table, but based on what happened with the last pledge conference, I am a bit hesitant to go that route. There are other things that we could do, and other routes we could take, and we'd want to explore a wide range of ideas to see how we can get funding. There's things like crowdfunding and other avenues, and so we plan to investigate a wide means of approaches and then take which one best suit our needs.
Is there a number that you're looking to obtain or gather from donations or?
We are actively putting together a list of proposed projects that we want to. Once we price those projects, that would provide us with the number that we need to obtain in donations.
Mr. Storr, is there a clear amount of the tonnage of debris on Grand Bahama and Abaco at this time, and how long it would take to remove that debris?
We are making some efforts to get an accurate count on the actual tonnage there. And let me say, the debris in Grand Bahama, those sites have been closed, so that would be a definite number. Abaco, some of the sites are still open and accepting debris, and so that number is climbing every day. But like I said, we are using, and as a matter of fact, we are speaking with different persons, technology operators that have the means to actually use drones and other equipment to assess the debris, and we're working on that right now. But if you mind, anyway, no, never mind. let me leave that. If you mind the amount of money that's been spent on debris removal, you wouldn't expect to see any debris still on these islands. But every single pound of debris is still exactly where it was.
What sort of amounts are we talking about?
Amounts in terms of money?
Yes, sir.
We have one company in Grand Bahama that was operating the two sites that combined their bill was probably $1 million a month. We have one company in Abaco, despite the hurricane being some 2-3 years past us, their bill is $300,000 this month, $400 next month, $300 again next month. Bills are climbing, even though the hurricane was 3 years ago. And so you could, over the life of Sense Dorian, I would hazard a guess of about $10 to $20 million has been spent. And like I said, the debris is still there.
Are these contracts ending soon? Is the government trying to get out of these contracts?
We are investigating our options to make sure that we could properly exit the contracts, the ones that we have questions with, that is. Like I said, there are 2 operators on Abaco. And let me say this, I told you that one operator on Abaco is fully complying with the requirements in the contract, the reporting requirements, providing pictures and all documents. I didn't mention that that contractor is also billing at about 50% of the other contractor. And they could actually back up what they're billing for. Let me give you an idea of what I'm talking about and the issues with the billing. There's a piece of equipment that the DRA was being billed $6,000 a day for. I checked the records. We were billed about, I think it was between 60 and 70 days at $6,000 a day. When we went to the site, we could determine that when this machine arrived at that site, they probably ran a test on it, and it never operated since. But yet we were billed for 70 days at $6,000 a day. Any more questions? Thank you very much.
For spending the time with us this morning to give us an update. And the work continues. The DRA is working to not only continue to assist Bahamians, but also to try and bring some regulation to a lot of what you've heard are abnormalities. And so the work continues. And that's how it is across a lot of the agencies in government. While these agencies are working to try and provide assistance and relief for Bahamians, they're also at the same time trying to normalize practices and processes in many of these institutions that were very abnormal and out of the norm and precedent setting in many cases. And so it has to be working through this, working through these issues to resolve these issues, to plug the loopholes, to plug the leakage, the revenue leakage, the loss in money, and still be able to assist Bahamians. But the Davis administration is up to the challenge. We've put capable people in place who can walk and chew gum, for lack of better words, and be able to assist while at the same time try and clean up things that are abnormal. And these things always have consequences, right? To international agencies, to reputations internationally, and we're trying to ensure that the Bahamas' reputation is shored up. So thank you again, Chairman Storr, for giving us that update. A couple announcements I want to give to you from Prime Minister today. Firstly, one regarding vaccines. In December 2021, a COVID-19 vaccination social mobilization campaign team was assembled to mobilize the unvaccinated communities to become immunized against COVID-19. Now, the team was there to engage and educate communities and assist in providing resources, for example, educational resources, experts, vaccination services as requested. The team held meeting with local communities in soliciting their views and opinions and get the facts about the COVID-19 vaccines and how best to manage it, as well as focus group interviews to determine reasons for vaccine hesitancy among the youth in particular. As a result of this, the Social Mobilization and National Vaccination Team came together to conduct walkabouts and educational sessions for communities identified and to provide on-the-spot vaccination services for those persons wishing to be vaccinated. What you would have found that in a lot of cases, it was a matter of education. People just did not know, or what people thought were the facts, they found out weren't the facts. So a lot of that those myths had to be demolished and truth established, and then many persons came forth and accepted vaccinations. Given this, pop-up sites were introduced to 4 selected areas over a 4-week period. This weekend, walkabouts will take place in the Mother Butler Park, Baintown, and Yellow Elder Park, Yellow Elder, this Friday, today, evening, and on the morning of Saturday, tomorrow, at each site. Prior to the start of the educational sessions and vaccinational services will begin at 1 p.m., ending at 5 p.m. A mobile unit will be stationed at the Mother Butler site. Now, for those of you who are not sure as to whether or not you should be vaccinated, we're inviting you to come out, get the facts. For those of you who are vaccinated, be a friend and bring a friend to get vaccinated. That's what we're asking you in this campaign to assist as we try to improve our vaccination rates here in the country. Another announcement, a new cabinet briefing layout. As you know, this week was the first week of our cabinet press briefings held here in the media room. From observation and speaking with all of you, it is safe to say that it was a success. I want to thank all of you for your cooperation and working together for this. The newly implemented protocols to accommodate the media interviewing cabinet ministers has been just another step in our efforts to provide greater access for you. Interviewing cabinet ministers, as I'm sure we can say, is now a smoother, more organized process. We're happy to facilitate access to the people and information you need. I'm just excited about this because I know what it was like as a reporter, being outside and staking out and hoping you get it, and barricades being in your way and all of that stuff, and not having access. And we're happy that we're able to provide now comfortable access for the media and getting these people and getting cabinet ministers for you. You don't have to go after them. We do the job and we bring them in here for you. We saw how Tuesday went. And so we hope that this kind of partnership will be able to continue so that you're able to get the information that you need, the stories that you need to get out to the people, whether they be good or bad. The important is that you have the information to get to the Bahamian people. And so we look forward to continuing this partnership with you in that regard. A few minutes ago, some of you were there, we signed an agreement with the United Nations. Moments ago, Prime Minister Davis, most of you would have been there, signed the agreement with the United Nations. It will run for the duration of 5 years. It's called the Bahamas has become a signatory to the UN Multi-Country Sustainable Development Cooperation Frameworks. It's a lot of words. But what it really breaks down to is this multi-country sustainable development cooperation framework reflects our determination to strengthen regional collaboration towards common goals. And according to Prime Minister Davis a few minutes ago, it is exactly the kind of initiative envisioned by Sustainable Development Goal 17, which urges us to, quote, strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize a global partnership for sustainable development. Prime Minister Davis said, these are extraordinary times. We must reinforce our social protection apparatus, invest in human capital, and establish a robust economic foundation for sustainable growth. While tourism has for decades served as a bedrock of our economy, we clearly see the need to diversify our economic model generally and our model of tourism specifically. So we're doing a number of things to broaden our opportunities and dependence on economic growth, not just through tourism. While we're shoring up tourism and ensure we remain on the cutting edge worldwide for tourism, we're also diversifying and looking at other ways and means for economic development for our people. Our people are becoming more creative with their career choices and opportunities. We want to make sure they have access to be able to use their skills here in the Bahamas. And that's why one of the things you're going to hear us talk about that we're creating is the orange economy, finding new ways for people to be able to use their skills and their talents and their ability and it make money for them as well as improve the economics of the country. So our Sustainable Goals Division is working with the United Nations to ensure that we're able to get the skill set, implement and revitalize a lot of the plans that they've been talking about for years, actually putting it in place so that we can see yield and result here in our country and in our finances and economics. And finally, on a good note, it's always good to talk about this. We're going to be celebrating in a few seconds international achievement of one of our outstanding leaders in culture and in dance, and we're going to tell you exactly what she's achieved. But before I go to that, I want to end with that and our food vendors. I want to be able to take any other questions that any of you may have that you need to get answers to. Let's take those now, and hopefully we can provide those answers for you.
I know that the Ministry of Transport and Housing is preparing to do a housing exercise in the coming weeks, but there are a lot of challenges on that island. Is there anything in particular that the Davis administration is looking to do to address that? I know when they had a PA meeting, I think it was last week, Kirk Cornish had talked about some form of public-private partnership to build multi-family homes and allow persons to only charge a certain level of rent to make it easier.
Yeah, it's a big issue. One of the challenges that you find in Abaco particularly is there are a lot of people, first of all, that want to go back to Abaco. Abaco before Dorian was a very strong economy. The general economics of this country depended on Abaco. Abaco is very well poised to not only meet that standard but exceed it, because what they're now doing, sadly because of the destruction, is creating an opportunity to really put the layout of Abaco the way it should have been for economic development, and that's what's happening now. And there are a lot of people that want to go back to Abaco to be able to do that and be a part of it. The biggest challenge is exactly what you said: housing. People have nowhere to live. And housing is also linked to the criminal element. People will tell you their challenge on Abaco is you put something down, it's gone. The criminal element. And so you have to address both at the same time. The issue of housing is one that we are challenged with. But you heard DRA talk about being able to go in there and build some houses. There are some promises that you'll find out that were made for housing that fell through. Some of the major donors who said they were going to do are not able to do. And so the challenge is finding out where do we put people. I'm going to ask the chairman to come back and talk again about what's happening housing-wise on Abaco as far as what we're building and where we are, whether we are partnering with private sector, so that you can get a better idea of how we're trying to put people in homes and what challenges we may face with that.
Yes, housing, specifically rental housing, is one of the biggest issues on Abaco. We have been using RVs to house some of the government employees, and so we are trying to partner with some of the private organizations, and we are trying to also design plans and then seek partners. One of the things we want to do, there were a lot of, let's say, duplex owners that were affected by the storm, and when they received assistance, if they were living in the unit, in the duplex, and only the side they were living in was fixed by the assistance that was given out. So now one of the things we're going to do is try and figure a way that we can fix the other portion so then they can rent that out and have housing available. There are other things. There was a proposed multifamily project to build, like, I call it almost an apartment building, but we want to move away from that, but look into something that's similar but more creative to try and provide housing. That is the biggest issue right now. Persons, even during the rebuilding that went on initially, there was manpower that wanted to come to the island to work, but no place to house them, and so that's one of the biggest issues that we're trying to solve right now. And let me just say, since I have this public forum, if there are persons out there with good ideas on how we could provide multi-family housing for Abaco, bring your ideas and we'll see how we could partner or steer you in the right direction to bring those to fruition. Thank you.
Yes, Rashad.
As a matter of policy, is the Davis administration ensuring that the contracts it enters into with people have provisions that allow them to pull out of the contract before the expiration date? It came up with the Cape Bob Smith matter, but F&Ms say when they came into power in 2017, they met similar contracts that didn't really allow them to pull out.
And again, that's where governments have to become well learned in putting contracts, because we always think about what's good right now and not what's good country-wise, right? And that's unfortunate in the past administrations. And Prime Minister Davis has been very clear that it's not about self, it's about country. He is adamant, actually, I should say about that we do what's in the best interest of the country. And while, of course, we have to present contracts that are attractive to people who are skilled and qualified, and we need their work ethics and we need their work abilities in government, we still have to do what's prudent for the country. And it's a discussion that's going to be had. I reached out to the Minister of State for Public Service, the Honorable Pia Glover-Roll, and we're going to have a conversation on it and find out what is the trend of thinking and whether that's going to be built in. So give us about 2 weeks, and we'll come back and let you know whether that's going to be specifically built in the contracts and whether it has already, or whether people are still continuing with these clauses that are quite strange. I know from my colleagues and I, it's safe to say we don't have those things in our contract. We have what's called normal contracts, normalized contracts, but we don't have those special luxury privileges. So for personal experience, I can disclose that don't exist with me, and I know several of my colleagues. But as for whether it's a policy across the board, I'll get back to you on that. Anybody else? Yes, hi.
Has there been any update on the two flag cruise ships that remain anchored in Freeport. I know acting Port Controller Vern, Mr. Wright, mentioned that there was a repatriation exercise going on for the 900 plus workers. Is that still ongoing, and how long can we expect the cruise ships to stay in our waters?
It is ongoing. We don't have a date yet as to when they will leave. We'll follow up on that for you, but I know the exercise continues. And they're still looking very closely into it. But we'll get back to you on a date as to when we expect this to be completed and moved on. Thanks, Tyler. Anybody else?
There was a quarantine equipment, I think it was, that was contracted under the former administration. I think it comes to an end either this month or next month. Has the Minister of Health indicated yet whether they're going to renew that contract to continue to use that software?
He hasn't. There is a meeting planned for next week to revisit where we are now. Matter of fact, this is important for you, all of you, to know where we are now, because we're now seeing significant progress and a continuous trend with the declining numbers. There's a meeting that's going to happen to determine whether or not we can relax some restrictions and what will happen as far as with quarantine and all of that. That's being revisited, I think, in the meeting next week. And so we'll have an express briefing and update for you on where we stand with what's in place now.
I'm sorry, I have two more questions.
Feel free.
Mr. Starr, if that's good. Okay.
Sure, feel free.
Wanted to ask Mr. Starr, as the chairman, when will the board, or when does the board plan to come into compliance with the DRA Act?
We are working feverishly to make sure that we're in compliance, and that's one of the reasons why we have the financial audit that is going on to make sure that we comply with that. And we also we are going to hire a compliance officer to make sure that they can go through the document and any other documents that require compliance and make sure that we comply. Because right now, that's one of the major issues right now. With the simplest things, with the simplest contracts and things, there's nobody really in office to make sure the checks and balances are done.
Is there a timeline for all that to happen for it to be fully in compliance?
We're going through the exercise that I'm doing myself personally is going through the act now to make sure we are compliant with things and what we need to do to be compliant.
Okay, final question. Has the board formulated a reconstruction strategy with measurable goals and timelines that can be objectively assessed so far after being in office for months?
That is part of the reason why we visited the sites and we're reviewing all the contracts and all the projects that we have ongoing now to see if they're meeting the needs and the requirements, and then see if we have to implement anything else and add things. And so that is a part of the process. The plan will come, but we need to know what's in place now and what we need to better facilitate the reconstruction and rebuilding of both sites.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Anything else? Okay, good. Let's move on to one of our final areas, and that is we've been having success, really. You've seen at these press conferences, we're highlighting people who are making waves internationally for our country. Everyday Bahamians are all over this world. And setting high standards for the Bahamas. And that's what's giving the Bahamas its success with Bahamians. And we're so excited to highlight another Bahamian who has achieved international success. In celebration of Black History Month, as you see going on in the United States, Dance Ministry Magazine has honored 5 leading dance ministers who have been pioneers in the field world over. Dr. Ann Higgins is the only dance leader to be honored outside of the United States of America. I'll pause right there for you to give her some applause on that one, y'all. In the magazine, she was described as a true pioneer. Dr. Higgins is credited with leading the charge to establish liturgical dance, as we all know, in the Bahamas. She has been ministering for 40 years and leads Christian Creative Arts and is the president of SID UNESCO, which is World Dance Council, Nassau section. And she was awarded, and we want to present her award formally today to her, that she was presented internationally as the only non-American to receive this award for outstanding pioneering in dance. And we're so happy that she is a Bahamian, and she continues to leading the world in dance, even from the UNESCO level. And I'm going to invite Dr. Ann Higgins to receive this award and to just say a few words about what she's been doing worldwide for dance. So again, Dr. Ann Higgins, congratulations.
Thank you so much. I am really honored about 36 years ago, as I stand here today, yesterday marked that 36 years ago that I gave my life to the Lord, a former lead dancer in the casino, one of the first Bahamians, El Casino, Freeport, and also Crystal Palace Casino. And so as yesterday marked that 36 years, my two daughters are here with me today, and one of them I was pregnant with 36 years ago, Achara, when I gave my life to the Lord. Not only did I give my life, but I gave my gifts and my talent, and that allowed me to travel the world evangelizing through the arts. And so today is very significant, and I would like to thank the organizers of Dance Magazine for honoring me after impacting over 200 countries in the world, implementing spirituality and dance. So as a professional, I didn't just hang up my gifts. I decided to use it as a platform to carry the gospel of Christ. And so I am very honored today to have my husband, Apostle Henry Higgins, and my two daughters with me to celebrate this. And I'm honored and grateful to the Office of the Prime Minister to allow this press conference. And I just want to say to you today, all of you, just remember that only what we do for Christ will last. And the footprints that you leave around the world with the gifts that you've been given, He sees you and He knows you by name. Doesn't matter if nobody ever applauds you. You will be recognized one way or the other, but most of all, you want to be recognized by God who gave you the gift for His glory. And again, thank you.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
And of course, we're going to take Dr. Peterson in, Dr. Higgins Peterson, in to be able to be photographed. Isn't that beautiful? Can we put that picture up again? It's beautiful with Prime Minister, so she can get a picture of that. And that's her in action doing what she does best. Congratulations again, Dr. Higgins. Finally, in our press conference, we continue our quest in highlighting outstanding Bahamian businesses. And let me say here, as we highlight these businesses, please make note of them so that you can visit them. They have some of the best cuisine in town, and they are excellent at what they do. And this is how we build our community, build our business community, our middle class, by what it is that we do. And we want to highlight two businesses today. The first one is Paradise Gourmet Donuts and Company. I'm going to invite Kenria Taylor to come, as well as Two Stories Catering, Kevin Maynard, to come as well and talk to us about their business and what they have here for you, members of the media, to sample today. Look at Royson's eyes got big.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kenria Taylor. I am the pastry chef and owner of the confectionery company, Paradise Gourmet Donuts & Co., a home-based business specializing in gourmet donuts and specialty confections. My passion for food began shortly before my sophomore year of high school, where dreams of travel, competition, and cooking quickly blossomed. From then to now, my life has completely revolved around the culinary arts. Having had the opportunity to compete abroad, pursue an education at my alma mater, Johnson & Wales University, and live out my island-to-city fantasies in Providence, Rhode Island. There, I discovered my unquestionable love for donuts and quickly traded in my salt for sugar. Throughout my college days, visiting local donut shops became a weekly ritual. However, after returning home, the subtle routine quickly subsided, though my cravings remained. Paradise Gourmet Donuts & Co. was created from an unsatisfied desire for the sweet deep-fried dough, and we haven't looked back since. The vision behind my business is to provide delicious variations of donuts, cookies, and other favorite desserts. Our menu items are altered quite often, having and leaving room to enjoy an array of confections. Welcome to Gourmet Donuts, dusted, frosted, and covered in chocolate. Welcome to Paradise Gourmet, where each and every one of our products are homemade, handmade, and made in paradise. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. My name is Kevon Maynard. I'm the proprietor of Two Stories Catering, aka We Just Love Food. This business has been in the works for quite some time now. Over 5 years I've been working on this project. It's been very hard, very difficult. As you all know, with the pandemic, I got the idea from my many travels abroad, living abroad in Miami, China, London. I went to school in London. I did law. And through the grace of God, something told me that, hey, law is a good thing for you to actually be a part of, but the restaurant industry, entertainment industry has always been a thing for me that I always actually wanted to get into. I took a flight to London. Didn't have any money, didn't have no idea in terms of what I was going to do. God gave me this vision in terms of what he wanted me to do. So I just took a flight, didn't have any money, met this guy. He had this double-decker graveyard, a lot of these items, a lot of school buses and everything. So I went over, I got it. When I got there, I met him, spoke to him about the idea, told him what I wanted to do, prayed on it for a few days. Like I said, I didn't have any money. So after I spoke with him, the guy cut me a deal, and he basically told me, you know what, I love your idea, I love your vision, I just want you to have it. So, like I say, it's amazing for me to be able to stand there, for me to be able to share my vision in the Bahamas in terms of what I actually wanted to do and how it actually came and how it actually developed. We sell tacos, burritos, fish bowls, rice bowls. We sell everything, basically. A lot of the items that we actually have on our menus are comfort foods. So you will come here, it's not very fast. I mean, it's very fast. You know, the vibe alone is very good. You could dine on top of the bus. You could sit downstairs on the outside. Fortunately, sorry, I didn't have a speech prepared. So everything basically is coming from the heart. My greatest inspiration for this idea has been my parents. I cannot lie. Like, if I tell them I want to be a rapper, they'll support me, you know. But because I gave them this idea and I told them this is what I actually wanted to do and this is where my path is leading me towards, they supported me 100%. Two Stories Catering, and we just love food. This is just simply the beginning. At some point, once the idea comes to its full potential, global, and that's what we're looking at right now. So keep us in your prayers, and thank you for having us here today.
Tell us what you're sharing with the media today.
Oh, yes. So we have some tacos, some burritos. We have our spicy tamarind wings, our guava wings, and our pineapple barbecue wings. But it was sitting there for a while because we are on the outside for about an hour, but it's still good. Let me let you all know. All right? All right, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's continue to support our Bahamians, especially our young people who are doing an excellent job. That's our press briefing for this week. We'll see you next week. Thank you all. Have a good afternoon.